Okay, we are now come to the formal opening ceremony. We already have some very eminent people seated, and I think we will start right now. We're still awaiting the presence of the Honorable Minister of Health, but his director has gone down to receive him. So as usual in this kind of setting, there are some people who will be on this side of the divide. Just give me 30 seconds. We had to rearrange these chairs because we wanted you to see the names of the speakers. So I'm multitasking, speaking and carrying chairs. Okay. Oh, one more. All right. So like I said, we would like some people to be on this side of the divide. It will give me pleasure to welcome the Federal Capital Territory Minister, Mohammed Musa Bello, who is ably represented here by Dr. Mohammed Kawu, the Secretary for Health. Honorable Minister, sir. A round of applause, please. I don't know if we have the representative of the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs here. Okay, I'm told that she will be coming herself, so she's also on the way. And so we will then invite the AAFP Board of Trustees Chair, Alhaji Sani Umar Jabba. Please come to the high table. A round of applause for him, please. And so we've tried to limit those on this side of the hall. So when the honorable ministers of health and women affairs coming, they will be ushered up to the table. So quickly, to start off this program, as we all know, in Nigeria, we rise and take the second stanza of the national anthem. I'm tempted for them not to project the words. So we'll know those who will be miming without knowing the words. But IT, can we have the words of the second stanza of the national anthem, please? Okay, sorry, just before we take the national anthem, let me invite the chairman of this opening ceremony itself, His Royal Highness, Dr. Haliru N. Yahaya, the Emir of Shonga. Please join us on the high table, sir. Welcome, sir. Oops. Now, if you look at this side of the divide, let me, in medical school, they give us MCQ, multiple choice questions. Oh, no, we have what we used to call on-the-spot diagnosis. Professor Ladipo and his colleagues used to do that to all of us. And Professor Adima, my teacher, Dr. Odujiri. On-the-spot diagnosis, what can you see on this table? Very, very masculine. Okay, so we're a progressive set of people. We're innovative. We give innovative solutions and we bring up ideas. So to address that and correct that anomaly, we would like to invite very respectfully Ms. Ula Mula, the UNFPA representative in Nigeria. Ms. Ula, you're welcome. No, the minister will be. Okay, so as soon as the honorable ministers of health and women affairs come, they will join us. So can we have the words of the second stanza, and may we all rise? Dun, 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 dun. O God of creation, direct our noble course. Lead us right, help a youth the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow, and living just and true. Great love behind attain to build a nation where peace and justice reign. God bless Nigeria. Let me quickly welcome to the podium the chairman of the TMC, AAFP, and the local organizing committee 6th Nigeria Family Planning Conference, Dr. Ejike Oji, to give his welcome address. Dr. Oji.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to recognize the presence of the Honorable Minister of FCT, who is ably represented by my brother and colleague, Dr. Mohamed Kawu, who is the Secretary of Health of FCT. Permit me also to welcome the country representative of the United Nations Populations Fund, UNFPA, Ms. Uller. Permit me also to recognize the Board of Trustee Chair of AFP, Association for the Advancement of Family Planning. Also on the high table, the chairman of our conference today, what we'll call him the total chairman, the holistic chairman of our conference, is no other person but His Eminence, Alhaji Yahaya. You're welcome, sir. Let me also use this opportunity to recognize all our Board of Trustee chairmen here. Please, when I call you, may you take a bow. Let me start by recognizing Professor Brian Adema. You're welcome, sir. Let me also recognize our Mama RH, Dr. Nike Adeyemi. Let me also recognize Dr. Mujima Konjola, who is here. And then, surely not the least of the dignitaries here, my friend, my brother, Alhaji Tijani, who is the country director of Gates Foundation, Melinda and Gates Fund. You're welcome, sir. Also here with us is the Director of Family Health at the Ministry of Health at the federal level, Dr. Salma Anaskolo. You're welcome, ma. With this, I want to recognize members of the Technical Management Committee of APC here, of AFP here present. I can see Dr. Philippa Moma. Please, can you take a bow? Can I also recognize Dr. Moji Odeku? Can you please take a bow? And the indefatigable father of us here, Professor Oladapo Ladipo. Ladies and gentlemen, may I stop here and say that I recognize all our development partners here who are here to support us and go straight to welcoming you. I will say I'll join the Honorable Minister of Health to warmly welcome all our esteemed guests to the opening ceremony of the 6th Nigeria Family Planning Conference. And thank you for being part of this epoch-making event, the first family planning conference in Nigeria with a virtual presence. I would like to quickly talk about a little bit of the activities of AFP. In addition to the successful hosting of previous conferences, this is the 6th in the series from 2010, and working in close collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Health and all relevant stakeholders, AFP has been able to achieve the following. One, we've done 5 successful conferences over the past 10 years, doing that every 2 years. We have successfully also advocated to government to put money down as counterpart support for FP commodities purchase, increasing the total support to $4 million and to make services free in public sites in the country. We've received grants from credible donors to do some of our programs. We have established accountability scorecards on FP funding. We have also trained civil society organizations on tracking and accountability at the sub-national level. All of us know that part of the problem we are not getting the traction that we need at the sub-national level. So AFP is trying to make sure that trend will change. We have also developed deep relationship and partnered with the media to advance the message on family planning. Just this morning, when Professor Oladipo spoke after the session by Nuri, Professor Oladipo said, it is time we got this information to the grassroots. And as we are speaking, one of the media gurus here with us, Emma Ugoju, who has worked with NAN for 16 years, came to me immediately. I completely support what Professor Oladipo said. We are going to make sure that what Nuri has launched today goes to every nook and cranny of Nigeria. And while I was also talking, Mojima Konjola quipped in, I think that is the best direction. So with these 2 people, nobody can stop us. We also created a medium of conversation with religious leaders to discuss common grounds for family planning service provision in the country, amongst other activities. For this particular conference, this is the 6th in the series, I said, is a unique opportunity due to the pandemic that happened or started this year, which has caused tremendous upheaval to health systems around the world, disrupting access to family planning information and services, as well as sexual and reproductive health more broadly. Despite this disruption, the need for family planning keeps rising. As health systems shift to prevent and treat people with COVID-19, it is essential that also protect access to family planning services. And with all of this, our theme for this conference is post-FP 2020 agenda and safeguarding investments in emergencies, adaptation, innovation, resilience. And to make sure we accommodate old and new emerging issues, we have 7 sub-themes: mobilizing resources for family planning on a continuous basis. We have just almost ended FP 2020 commitments. So we are going to look at the gaps and achievements and plan for 2030. The conversation to start talking about the 2030 will start now. We have to look at impactful strategies to strengthen the FP agenda post-2020, meeting the FP needs during the COVID-19 pandemic, scaling up networking and technology to improve family planning, Adolescents, the very visible but hard to reach. How do we reach them? We do know that the people or the young people that will drive our population to 450 million are already born. So even if we stop all the people who are here, if they stop procreating, the ones who are already, the young people will drive our population if we don't do anything. Then the one that is so unique that everybody, there has been 16 days of activism. You can see orange it. Mujima Konjola is still oranging it. Ola, are you still oranging it? She is. Everybody here is oranging it. And that is gender-based violence and family planning during emergencies. We don't want to forget there is still insurgency in the Northeast, and then women are in IDP camps, so we must also keeping our eyes on that. In terms of structure, we started this meeting on Monday with the Women Pre-Conference, followed the next day with the Interfaith and Youth. And if you look at those three pre-conferences, they speak to the main areas we should be focusing. I've already spoken about the youth and the interfaith. You know, without the religious leaders' support, we can't go anywhere. And then, of course, the women are the ones that are taking more predominantly all the problems that come with what we're talking about today. So today starts the main conference, and this will last till Friday. I want to thank all of you for being here, especially our eminence who gracefully agreed to chair this occasion. Please welcome our chairman for the occasion to give us his opening address. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ejike. A round of applause for him. One of the things I should have done at the beginning was to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Tunde Shegun. I'm anchoring this opening ceremony with my colleague, Mr. Chukwuemeka Okeriafo. And let me hand over to him right now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shegun. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, sorry, I remember. When you say good afternoon the first time, people generally don't answer you until you say it a second time. And this experiment was performed yesterday and it came out true. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for acknowledging the greeting. Dr. Ejike has done my job for me, so I won't take too much time. I'll just invite to the microphone for his opening remark, the chairman's opening remark. His Royal Highness, Dr. Haliru Yahaya, Emir of Shonga. And if you're in family planning, you know that this indeed is one emir we are very, very, very proud of. Please welcome him. Make me welcome to the microphone. You're welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, or good morning. Distinguished members of the high table, distinguished members of the low table, ladies and gentlemen, I want to be very brief. I really thank you for inviting me to chair this session. I consider it a very great honor. It's the 6th biennial conference. It's virtual and physical. So you're creating new grounds, and it's got a bit more global than previous. I just want to cast your mind back to ICPD 25 that took place in Nairobi recently. We thought some progress has been made, but we need to really sharpen our focus. And we left with 3 promises. We left with 3 promises, in fact, a bit more, but 3 major promises. The 0 preventable cause of maternal death, 0 unmet need for family planning, and 0 gender-based violence. Shortly after we left, came COVID-19, very devastating. It's also an opportunity. It provided opportunity as well. COVID laid us bare, showed us the weakness in our system, and also showed people that health, which had always previously been invisible and restricted to some people's mind to physical buildings, could be more important than anything else. In fact, I had a very, very robust debate about whether health was more important or education was more important. But with health, being able to take out schools, take out education, take out economy, take out, somebody said their case has been made. Well, I think both are important, but it just stresses that health is important. Now, it also means that we are routinely rekitting and reviewing health. And government was forced to do that to contain COVID and also to move forward. Now, but one of the fallouts of this is that the gender-based violence took center stage at year 1+1. That is what we celebrated last month. 16 days of activism. I wish they had a way of putting family planning alongside. I wish we had a way of doing it. But that has been a very effective campaign finishing today, and the women had been really vigorous. It got to the rural areas through radio, all sorts of things. But well-organized, very orchestrated campaign. I thought towards the end we should think of how we can bring domesticate something like that, take it right to grassroots on family planning. But I know there are thoughts on the way. Now, I was actually at the London conference 2012, so I've been tracking and following things up to now. And I must say that a lot of work has gone on. Somehow, it's a lot of heat, but little motion. The motion, however, is appreciable, really, if you look at it. But we wish we had gone much, much further. I will simply summarize that we're still at the logarithmic phase of growth. A lot of effort goes in, but little comes out. But when it starts coming out, I hope to shoot up very, very fast. But whatever we'll do to make it shoot fast must start on this conference. I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that everyone says that without family planning, or with family planning, we can prevent up to 30% of maternal deaths and all the knock-on effects, and so on and so forth. I'd like to go back to NIPS. NIPS came and presented the work of 1 year of study, but I want to mention NIPS because this is the corridor to the head of state. He commissioned that study. He came out and listened to them and promised he would implement. If we have a keen into this group, then we might achieve many things because government is committed to whatever they have said. It's the highest policy think tank. And so really, you mustn't miss that opportunity. I hope somebody's listening. Now, issue of demographic dividend, like Prof. Grandfather was saying here, is an issue that is so commonsensical when we discuss it among ourselves, but have to get this message out. It's not yet been sufficiently democratized. Now with NIPS, they mentioned one thing I thought they capitalized on at the end was issue of, and everyone that presents talk about paucity of data, paucity of reliable data. I think it's time we realize that that is a key area, a very key area that we must strategize on. Data, 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 data. Without that, we'll still be floundering. NIPS mentioned data as a very key issue. So if we can follow those people and use them as basis for really establishing ways of keeping a good data bank, that will also be a way forward. Now, right-based issues are what we're discussing. There's a little hiccup here. If you look at population control, I think the word that's imagined as better alternative is population management. If we keep using population control, we actually step on many toes. Let us just change finally to population management. It encompasses everything, the common sense. Now it encompasses one small area which has been a problem for a large number of people. Sharia rights. People want to bring Sharia in a very misunderstood manner to talk about, no, you can't do family planning. No, you can't. It's just because it's a cliche. But if you approach it from the health point of view, your wife has got 5 children. Don't add more. Because you have promised as a Muslim to look after your wife. You've promised as a Muslim to look after your kids. If you now fail to look after your wife and say, God will provide. No, you're weak, you're wasting on. God has asked you to look after her. So you enjoy her, she enjoys you. Your children also should be looked after. They have a right on you. If you combine these ideas together, you can talk to any Muslim. In the end, if I look after my kids, you look after yours, and you know there are ways that are approved of controlling this number of births, then we may actually, it might be slower for this group that have delayed us, but eventually they'll get there. And it has a multiplier effect as things begin to catch on. So I think that strategy is also one that we're exploring as we're doing segmental approach. We're doing audience segmentation as we approach next items of our agenda. Segmentation, when you come to this group, design a very special program that approaches in different way, and you talk of family spacing. It's not rocket science, but it's just that people have just failed to listen to us. We now want to listen to them. The other thing I want to mention here is issue of unmarried children in Islam. They don't want you to talk about family planning for them. But they're not growing as Muslims, they're growing as, well, sorry, let me give something else. We have what I call a cyber sitting room, also a bipolar sitting room. On one side are the parents, traditional regulation, traditional rules. And the other side, same room, are the cyberspace kids. So it's a bipolar sitting room. So they're not talking to you, not talking to them. They see you, but they're not copying you. They're fascinated by what's in the cyberspace. That has no color, no religion, nothing. And so they go with the trend, they go with the fashion, they talk about contraceptives, or they just talk about trying out sex. They're not anchored by religion when they get excited. So my message to the clerics amongst us, sit down and take the reality into consideration and say, do we still say no to married girls? Is there any what do you call it, fatwa we can come up with? But that's an area, lacuna, that we have to address to the clerics to work out before the next family planning conference. Finally, as I round up, democratic dividend is called DD. But let us work towards DD, not democratic doom, demographic doom. They both are DDs. So let's pick which DD we want. Finally, as we go forward, the anchor is the community. We go to the community, that's the theater. Therefore, the community leaders are by far more important than we think. If you go and speak and leave, you talk to them, your project is dead on arrival. If you engage them, map them out first. There are some that are already converted. But there are some, like the Gagi here is a master. I'll soon round up. He's a master. So somebody like you, go to his community, just talk about your project. There are many you need to carry along, get them go and come back, then eventually they own the project. Make a clear distinction between this type of people. Finally, IDP camps. We're tending to ignore them. A lot is happening out there. A lot is happening. It's a time bomb. Now, I would say at this point, thank you very much for this invitation. I sincerely hope that we take things a bit more seriously and take strategies that will reach the ground and begin to now have growth. Everyone is hearing enough of it, but at this stage, we should plan something very strategic on how to really move forward. The traditional and the community leaders are key to your democratizing moving forward. Avoid red buttons as you go along, depends on community. And I think our next phase will be faster. Thank you very much.
We have to observe the COVID protocol, and I also need to sanitize my hands before I continue. Yes, okay. Thank you very much, Mayes. So we actually have a wipe here, which makes it easy for everyone. So please, if you come to the podium, feel free to use the wipe, both for the microphone and for your hands. And there's also a hand sanitizer. Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness, for that opening remark. We have partners who would like to show genuine feelings and appreciation for what we are doing at the 6th Nigerian Family Planning Conference 2020. Based on this, I would like to invite both on-site and online some of these partners to give us their goodwill messages. First on the list, it is my pleasure to welcome to the microphone the country director, acting country director, Nigeria Country Office of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. Tijani Mohammed. Please, a round of applause for him as he comes to the microphone. We can do better. We can do better. They really supported this conference. And just a minute, and let me finish the sanitizing. I love you so much. I don't want you to get COVID. Okay, the wife. Okay, thank you. Distinguished high table. And I see a lot of our partners and colleagues here. Sure. So, distinguished high table, our partners and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my pleasure to give this goodwill message on behalf of, I think we are having the Honorable Minister for Women Affairs. You're welcome, Honorable Minister. Good to have you. Welcome again to the Honorable Minister. It is my pleasure to give this goodwill message on behalf of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation at this important occasion of the 6th National Family Planning Conference. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation congratulates Nigeria and the Association of Advancement of Family Planning, the organizer of this event. This conference could not have come at a better time than now, when the country and the world has battled with the only beginning to get hold on the fight against COVID-19 that threatens life and development. Maintaining development progress while coping with the health and economic effects of the pandemic will require new thinking, fresh efforts, and partnership similar to what a conference like this will stimulate. The theme of this year's conference, Post-Family Planning 2020 Agenda and Safeguarding Investments in Emergencies, Adaptation, Innovation, Resilience, has aptly captured the essence of our partnership with the Nigerian government. Building on the achievements of FP 2020 Global Partnership, which the Foundation has supported, Nigeria must ensure it accelerates progress in expanding family planning in order to harness its teeming youthful population into development capital. The Nigerian government has already recognized the significance of developing its human capital in achieving sustainable economic growth and development by highlighting the needs in its economic recovery and growth plan, ERGP. Most recently, our country has established a multi-sectoral technical co-working group under the Vice President Office to develop and manage implementation of the country HCD Vision Plan. This plan has identified strategic steps and high-impact policy interventions that will ensure an accelerated human capital development. The Foundation has supported this ongoing HCD initiative through technical assistance and funding support. Having listened to all the discussions this morning and afternoon, especially the passionate appeal by Professor Oladipo on the urgency of demographic dividend, I will
only make two critical observations. And the first is that in order for the three pillars of Nigeria HCD plan, health, education, and employment growth, or labor force participation, to make sense and achieve a desired outcome, there must be demographic transition, which of necessity must be catalyzed by rapid fertility decline. Family planning is therefore critical to the nation's attainment of demographic dividend, upon which the nation's growth and development potential is hinged. But definitely, demographic momentum is the issue here. Nigeria currently classified as a pre-dividend country because of its high fertility rate, declining mortality rate, and a useful age structure is indeed at the crossroad. Failure to maintain and impact to accelerate the modest fertility decline so far achieved risks the country's potential for meaningful development as a worsening age structure with increasing dependency ratio will foreclose its prospect of attaining demographic dividend. There are significant evidences to conclude that investing in family planning and of course family planning program based on the discussion earlier could accelerate facility reduction. The BMGF, and this is my second observation, BMGF has supported the country to develop its first ever costed family planning strategy, the National Family Planning Blueprint 2014, and has since supported its revision twice to respond to prevailing population circumstances. We will continue to support Nigeria's integrated primary healthcare transformation agenda, with family planning as one of its priority investments. We will continue to advocate for the country to identify appropriate policies, make catalytic investments, and embrace administrative agility even in the face of emergencies, as promoted by the theme of this conference. Lastly, and on behalf of the foundation, my colleagues at the Nigeria Country Office, I wish you fruitful deliberation. Thank you and good afternoon again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please give him a round of applause as he goes back to his seat. One of the things we are going to do to also help observe the COVID protocol is when you come to speak here, please first sanitize your hands with the hand sanitizer before you touch the microphone, please, either of the microphones you're using. When you are doing a program or a project and you don't have women as partners, you can be sure that that project is going to really face a lot of challenges. It's based on that I'm really, really excited to note, and happily too, and it's also a good thing that the person I'm going to introduce is sandwiched by two very strong traditional rulers. What else can a woman ask for? Let us make welcome, especially to this program, the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Tallen. You're welcome, ma. You're welcome. Continuing with the goodwill messages, I also like to invite now to the microphone the UNFPA representative in the person of Ms. Ola Mula to the microphone. Please, let's encourage her while we do the COVID protocol.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, represented by Dr. Mohammed Kanu. Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, my dear friend, Dame Pauline Tallen. Distinguished guests at the high table, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to stand on already established protocols. I am delighted to be here today and to represent UNFPA on the opening of the 6th Nigerian Family Planning Conference. The theme this year, which is Post-Family Planning FP 2020 Agenda and Safeguarding the Investments in Emergencies, Adaptation, Innovation and Resilience, could not be more appropriate than what it is we experience today. But let me start by reminding us that today is the International Day of Human Rights. It's a day where we should commemorate human rights. And I think on the opening of a family planning conference, it's only appropriate to remind ourselves that a woman has a human right to decide when she wants to have children, how many children she wants, and if she wants children. So I think it is a perfect opportunity to remind ourselves of human rights and where that overlaps to women's rights and to ending all forms of discrimination against women. The year 2020 is also an important milestone for many reasons. It is now 8 years ago that under the auspices of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and DFID, which no longer exists, but at that time it was called DFID, convened the world leaders to London. And everyone pledged to increase access to family planning for women all over the world. And Nigeria was one of the highlights of that pledging event. At that point, Nigeria pledged a contraceptive prevalence. Oh, I need to stop. Should we welcome the Honorable Minister of Health to the high table? Thank you. I will take us back to London to 2012, when Nigeria pledged to reach by 2020 a contraceptive prevalence rate of 36. There's very good reasons for not being able to make that target. And it was revised in 2017 to 27 by 2020. And today we have a pledge that I think is doable, is realistic, and that is part of what we will be discussing over the next couple of days. It is a contraceptive prevalence rate for Nigeria of 27 by 2024. I think we can make that happen. What we have seen this year is also the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I do want to take this opportunity before I go into what it has meant to really commend the Nigerian government under the leadership of the Honorable Minister of Health to ensure that access to family planning remained a priority. It was recognized as an essential service, and it was ensured that it rested in the budget, and we worked very hard together with the ministry to secure the supply chain. We did so very successfully, and yet we've also had to conclude that in some areas of this country, access and contraceptive uptake have actually declined. That happens despite political will. That is all about the work we do in communities and ensuring that it's not only at government level, whether we talk federal or state, that it's recognized as an essential service, but amongst community members. And therefore, I'm delighted also to see the presence of important leaders for our communities and religious communities in this country. The Nigeria 6th Family Planning Conference provides a unique opportunity for us to respond, to reflect on how we can respond better to the emerging pandemic, and also what we can do differently and better to ensure that we actually reach our goal by 2024. I think one of the key messages is that family planning is an enabler. It goes way beyond spacing the number of children you have. It is one of the key enablers to reaching the Sustainable Development Goals. If we are serious about poverty reduction, we cannot have a population growth that outshines the economic growth that is going to lead to an increase in poverty rates. It's a key enabler to ensuring that girls stay in school and that you have quality education. If the ratio between pupils and teachers is too high, the quality of your education will drop. And having spent the last year in Nigeria, I would say you have a very high level of education, and we should safeguard that. And family planning plays a role to that. It's all about changing the narrative. But let us not forget, while it is an enabler to the Sustainable Development Goals, first and foremost, family planning saves lives. Women die every day for reasons we can prevent. They die because we don't have a health system that ensures they can safely deliver a child. And we cannot in 2020 say it's acceptable that a woman die giving life. That is definitely a story we should change and a legacy to give on to the future that we could be proud of. Access to family planning alone reduces maternal mortality by 25%. That's a huge number. And this is 25% more children who will have their mother. And we know when the mother is in the life of a child, they're more likely to be educated. And the better educated the girl child is, the better she will educate her daughter when her daughter arrives. There are so many reasons to invest in family planning. I think the theme of this year's conference is a good opportunity again to change that narrative that starts telling the stories of the real individuals, of the women who dies for preventable reasons. Let us also tell the stories of the mothers who survives. Let us also really define and implement the national priorities so that we can harness the demographic dividend and achieve the SDGs by 2030. Education and access to family planning are the two key drivers to that. It's about the future of the country, and it's about the next generation. And it's the next generation who would have the responsibility to look after all of us in this room today. So let's set them up for success so that they can continue a journey for Nigeria that is prosperous. Let us also take the opportunity to engage with all the partners and donors and government representatives to ensure that we get more investment in family planning. It is critical that we can procure sufficient contraceptives. It is critical that we have trained healthcare workers, that we strengthen the health system so that we can achieve our goals. And let us also prioritize family planning in humanitarian preparedness, response, and resilient building. Because what we also know is that when women participate in peace negotiations, when women participate to find solutions in conflict, the solutions are likely to be more lasting and more durable. Yet another reason to ensure that women are by the table and that we invest in them. In Nigeria, UNFPA will work relentlessly. We will work day and night together with the government, with the partners and the stakeholders to ensure that Nigeria does reach the goal, and also to ensure that we stand by the Nairobi commitments, which were so eloquently defined and remembered by the Emir of Shongo when he opened, which is 0 preventable maternal deaths. It is 0 unmet need for family planning. And it is ending all forms of gender-based violence and harmful practices. And we can do that, leaving no one behind. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, How else do I convince you of government's commitment to this program than with the presence of a very distinguished gentleman, the Honorable Minister of Health, who walked in the course of the last address. Please let's make welcome specially Dr. Osage Ihanere, Honorable Minister of Health. You're welcome, sir. Again, he's sandwiched between two very, very powerful men. You're welcome, sir. Right away, we'll go online to get another goodwill message. Like I mentioned, some of the messages are on site and others are online. And based on that, I'm going to invite the next goodwill message, and that will be taken online. But before that, honorable ministers, I would also like to recognize specially and thank them for all the efforts put into this conference, the AFP Board of Trustees. Please, let's put our hands together for the AFP Board of Trustees. Alhaji Sani Umar is the chair. Thank you very much, sir. We also have Professor Ben Madugu, Chief Mrs. Mujima Konjola, Dr. Adiniki Adeyemi, Professor Joseph Ifeanyi Brian Adima, Hajia Asmao Joda, the last but surely not the least, Professor Joseph Utubu. A round of applause for them, please. We must also at this point also recognize the management and technical committee members. It's a long list. I won't be able to read all of these names, but please, let's specially thank them for all the efforts, the management and technical committee members. Online, we are going to take the first online presentation from the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, Laurel Rustin of USAID. Technical team, please, let's have his goodwill message.
Good afternoon, everyone. If you would permit me to stand on existing protocols, and please do let me know if the volume is okay, if you can hear me okay.
Yeah, it's okay. We can hear you very well. Thank you.
For that confirmation. On behalf of the U.S. Agency for International Development, I'd like to thank everyone who has worked to bring the 6th National Family Planning Conference to fruition, and for the opportunity to pass along goodwill message to the government of Nigeria on behalf of our mission director, Ann Patterson, who unfortunately is not able to make this event today because she is engaged in other pressing matters. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, government officials, the Association for the Advancement of Family Planning, donors, partners, and civil society organizations have embraced innovative ways of holding this conference. We commend you for that. 2020 was supposed to be a landmark year for family planning. Through a strong partnership among health government agencies, other donors and partners, and the FP 2020 coalition, Nigeria had hoped to reach the ambitious goal of 27% modern contraceptive prevalence rate by the end of the year. But COVID-19 has changed all of that. The health landscape as we knew it, was torn apart with disrupted access to family planning services, and indeed all health services, delays in manufacturing and along the supply chain, as well as reprioritizing scarce resources to fight the pandemic. However, the government of Nigeria has rose to the challenge by maintaining family planning as an essential service that must always receive adequate funding, and under the National Strategic Plan for Maintaining Essential Services during COVID-19 and other emergencies. Despite the difficulties of 2020, and indeed despite of them, USAID remains committed to supporting Nigeria in its health programming. In the case of family planning, USAID is consolidating resources and sustaining its efforts to increase rates of voluntary contraceptive use in our target states. There is no question that if Nigeria meets the family planning needs of its growing population, it will prevent and avert unintended pregnancies. This is one of the most cost-effective ways of reducing mother and child deaths and improving the health of the nation as it works towards the larger development goals. It is worth noting that this conference coincides with the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence global campaign. And I was heartened to hear others mention this in their remarks as well. USAID joins the international community for this campaign, believing that gender equality and women's empowerment are the core of development. We therefore seek to integrate gender-based violence programming into family planning programming where and when possible. As many of you are aware, USAID has been reorienting its strategies, its partnership models and program practices to achieve greater development outcomes and to work towards a time when foreign assistance is no longer necessary. It is called the journey to self-reliance. As partners on this journey, USAID is working with the government of Nigeria and our partners to achieve locally sustained results. We are helping to mobilize public and private revenues, strengthening local capacities, and accelerating enterprise-driven development. Sustainability of family planning commodities and other key inputs and actions in support of reaching family planning goals are critical. Through this conference, we can chart a collective way forward, improving access to quality family planning services, especially for the most vulnerable in hard-to-reach areas, young adults and adolescents, and people in conflict-affected regions. I look forward to lively discussion, exchange of lessons learned, and more importantly, continued partnership and collaboration. I am confident that this conference will be a resounding success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Continue with the goodwill messages. We have 2 more messages to go. And I'd like to invite also online, Iyaduni Olubode, Nigerian Director, MSD for Mothers. Technical team, please. Iyaduni Olubode. Can you please unmute her? Can you try, Iyaduni, can you try without your headphone and see? Remove it, let's see if that will help.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Clearly, we can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon from sunny Lagos. Honorable Sir and Madam Minister, distinguished guests, reproductive health stakeholders, and other participants who are there physically and joining virtually like myself. All protocols duly observed. I want to thank especially the organizers for the efforts that have gone into producing this event. My name is Iyaduni Olubode, and I represent MSD for Mothers in Nigeria. I thank you for this platform. For me, family planning is a personal issue. I do not take for granted the opportunity provided me to pursue a fulfilling career in development by my own access to modern contraceptives, letting me take control of when I have my children. Now, as Nigeria Director for MSD for Mothers, the link between maternal health and contraceptives is well established. Family planning is considered a highly cost-effective way to reduce maternal mortality, and research has shown can potentially avert 1/3 of all maternal deaths if women are empowered to plan and space their pregnancies. And we all know what our modern contraceptive prevalence rates is amongst married women in Nigeria. And this is why with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in 2012, MSD for Mothers jointly pledged in support of the FP 2020 goals. 8 years later, we're proud of the achievements of the Post-Pregnancy Family Planning Project, which is actively advocating for initiating the family planning conversation at the beginning of pregnancy at the ANC stage and keeping that conversation going up until immunization. And Integrate E, a project led by the Society of Family Health, and they're supporting the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria to establish an accreditation model for patent medicine vendors as they serve as a complement to increase contraceptive access, especially for people in rural and peri-urban neighborhoods. Their work to move family planning access closer to women was particularly relevant with the unexpected COVID dynamics of 2020. And so, looking forward, what are our thoughts and how do we further build on what we have done? I want to highlight three things. First, the importance of women-centered solutions. When we come up with solutions, they must reflect the needs, the preferences, and the values of the Nigerian woman. We must take the time to engage with the women and understand what their values are and what their preferences are. Second, I want to highlight digital technology. There are so many opportunities to integrate digital technology, and I think that COVID brought a lot of this to the fore, whether it's teleconsultations or delivery systems. The digital divide and the issue of inequities is not an argument against using digital health. It's an argument that should drive us to find optimal solutions, solutions that create optimal access through low-cost, high-impact interventions. And finally, private sector. I think the case for private sector is well made now. Private sector has certain resources, capacities that can be brought to bear in terms of innovation, in terms of networks, in terms of even capital. So for us to go far, we need to go together. We need to bring public sector, private sector, civil sector, communities together so that we can reach our goals. I want to thank you once again for this platform. I'm excited to get into the conference and to hear the many presentations around technology and COVID and other things that have been prepared by the presenters today. I wish you happy deliberations and insightful conversations that lead us to our promised land. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yadunyo Olubode. The last but surely not the least, all the way from the FP 2020 Secretariat, it's my honor to also welcome online to give us his goodwill message, Beth Shelster, Executive Director, FP 2020 Secretariat. Technical team, please.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be with all of you today. And I'd like to start by sharing my greetings with the Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Inire, the Honorable Minister of Women's Affairs, Dame Pauline Tallon, Your Royal Highnesses, and all the distinguished colleagues and friends in the room. If I may say, all protocols observed. FP 2020 is so pleased to be here with you today and to have Nigeria continue to be a strong partner for FP 2020 in your efforts to advance access to life-saving and rights-based family planning for all women and girls and their families. We were so honored to host a reference group meeting in Nigeria a few years ago in 2017. And at that time as well, we honored with you the legacy of Dr. Babatunde Oshotomen, who I know remains an inspiration to many of you and to all of us here at FP 2020. He was so central to launching our partnership in 2012, to leading UNFPA, and to being such a strong partner with all of us. So I wanted to remember his legacy here today, because we're talking about so many important changes in our sector, in our world, and looking ahead to the next decade. And I want to acknowledge standing on the shoulders of so many who have done this work over the decades to lead us all to this moment. Since 2012, Nigeria has achieved so much. I want to acknowledge a few of the seminal achievements since we were last together in 2018 for a family planning conference, including your revised National Family Planning Blueprint, which will take you to 2024, the National Family Planning Private Sector Engagement Strategy, which is innovative and shows new possibilities, including with partners like Merck for Mothers, for how we can work together with business and community to achieve so much more together. And how the country has developed a 4-year postpartum family planning strategy, which outlines postpartum family planning and other maternal and health thematic areas, because we know that the health and safety and the well-being of mothers is central to the health of families and communities. I also want to acknowledge the Nigerian Reproductive Health Technical Working Group, which has been strategically realigned to include new subcommittees, such as the new and underutilized subcommittee and inauguration of the Product Introduction Management Committee. The flexibility that you've shown to adapt to new opportunities and to strengthen your partnership shows a path forward that will be highly productive. We also want to commend you for the increase in access to long-acting reversible contraceptives through training in community health workers with partners such as UNFPA, CHI, and Marie Stopes International, MSI now. And lastly, I'd say that your access to postpartum family planning has been accelerated through UNFPA and BALSTA in 6 states, and that shows a real encouraging promise going forward. But what I'd like to pivot to now is to talk about integration of services and integration of development. And so many of the colleagues who've spoken before me, starting with UNFPA and USAID and Merck for Mothers and the Gates Foundation, is really this concept of what integrated services in an integrated world really means. Because as many have said, with this pandemic, we're feeling our interconnectedness more than ever, even though it's more difficult than ever to be physically together. But the linkages of an interconnected world really parallel some of the things that we need to challenge ourselves to do in our thinking and in our programming. Because just as no woman lives independent of her family, and no family lives independent of its community, there's no family planning program that lives independent of a health system, and the health system is integrated within the broader development of government. And as we all work together, these messages and what we've learned about how we're stronger together, I think really help guide us on a new path forward. One of the things we've learned through FP 2020 is that interconnectedness of development partners is really critical to our thinking and to bringing us forward. And this last year, for example, we've seen a new willingness from our partners globally who work on climate change mitigation and preserving biodiversity to thinking about family planning and what it means to have healthy families that are sustainable. The Emir spoke about that a bit, about what it means to have families who can make decisions to maybe have fewer children because the children they have are healthier and they want to support them through education and through their own family development. This same recognition is now blossoming within our colleagues who are working on climate change. So they're also wanting to partner with us because they understand that when women have access to rights-based family planning, when they can choose, just as our colleague did at Merck for Mothers, when and how to have children, you can also have a stronger family economy. So it's partnerships like that that are inspiring me to know that the world is coming together in different ways in how we think about these things. I'd also like to shine a light on our colleagues across the sexual and reproductive health and rights spectrum, because new and inspiring partnerships are happening there as well. Many of you are aware that in partnership with those working on HIV, there's a launch coming of a dual prevention pill that brings together PrEP, the prevention medication for HIV, with an oral contraceptive. So a woman can take one pill and manage her vulnerability to both unintended pregnancy and HIV. So these kinds of integrated systems and thinking about the client, the woman at the center, what do they need? How can they lead healthier lives? And how can we come together in new partnerships is really paving a way forward. I was heartened to hear so many of our colleagues talking about gender-based violence as well, and how the integration of our thinking about the well-being of women and families can lead to new changes, and that centrality can, I think, inspire us forward. And lastly, I'd also say that we have to consider rights at the center of all that we do. For me, one of the things that comes forward in this COVID pandemic, and it's particularly germane here in the United States, where we're feeling that our lack of preparedness has left us extremely vulnerable to the impact of this virus. And this focus on preparedness is also a place that we want to look more into in the coming decades, because we often find that humanitarian partners are planning for the crisis, but development partners aren't linked into that planning. But where we've seen this integration of thinking, we do see stronger outcomes, because we know now, we've always known, that the better we prepare for crisis, the better we'll come through that. And lastly, I'd say as well that how can we think about this unprecedented COVID vaccine launch that's just started this week? It's an opportunity to think about how we can work together, or bring services together for folks as we roll out this unprecedented global campaign to vaccinate every person on Earth against this pandemic. Is there an opportunity there to think about bringing together contraception with that? It's worth considering and worth planning for as we have this opportunity. So I'd like to thank you all for your partnership and say that FP 2020 is planning for the future as well. We'll be here for the next decade. In mid-January, we're going to launch our final annual report. We're going to kick off our new partnership, and we're going to welcome all of you to make commitments as well for the decade ahead. And I look forward to working on that with all of you and to all the progress that you'll make. We remain inspired by Nigeria, your dedication. You're the continent's most populous country, so what you do matters and inspires an entire continent and all of us here at the FP 2020 Partnership. So I wish you well for this week's conference. We'll be watching, we'll be learning, and we're here to partner with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, imagine for once that the way excessive alcohol affects human beings is also the way alcohol affects things like surfaces, microphones, tables, and the rest of them. Imagine all of these microphones here, all the way we are soaking them with alcohol. Will they be able to withstand that pressure? It's on that note, I welcome to the microphone, the alcohol-soaked microphone. Please put your hands together for Dr. Tunde Shegu as he comes to take over this alcohol-soaked microphone from me.
Thank you so much. The good thing is these microphones are inanimate and they don't digest it, so nothing happens to them. Okay, now it's unusual in a very positive manner in one program to have 3 honorable ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria seated. So it shows you the importance and underscores the importance of the topic that we're discussing. It affects every sector. You know, it's not just the health sector. And so quickly, I would want the Honorable Minister of the FCT, who is ably represented by the Secretary of Health, to give us a very brief remarks. This will be followed by the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Talen, who will also give us brief remarks. And then our own, sorry, this is my bias, our own constituency, the honor, no, you see, you see, between, I need to be healthy to be able to deal with a woman. So after which, the Honorable Minister of Health will give his opening remarks, and then he will then launch the book of how family planning can lead to a productive Nigeria. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I'm reliably informed that the Honorable Minister of Health has to leave soon. So please, I'm sorry about that. Let me reverse the order. Let me give the floor to the Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanire, to give his opening remarks and launching of the book. The Honorable Minister of Health, sir.
This is the alcohol soaked mic. The chairman of the occasion, the Emir of Shonga, Royal Highness, Dr. Haliru, the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, the representative of the Honorable Minister of FCT, yes, the Honorable representative of the Honorable Minister of the FCT, the Chair of the Board of Trustees of AFP, the Country Director, UNFPA, development partners, participants, members of the press. First, I shall apologize for coming later than planned. It is because of pressures to attend several other activities. I was just coming from one other activity at the Ministry of Works. And I must also apologize that I will leave immediately after my speech because I'm going for a PTF meeting, which has started at 1 o'clock. And it's already ongoing as I speak. And I am delighted at this opportunity to address this gathering of men, women, and young people who share the vision and passion of improving the well-being of citizens, and especially women, with emphasis on access to family planning services. I commend your efforts and the enthusiasm among stakeholders across the length and breadth of our beloved country. And I especially welcome all personalities from various parts of the world who have joined the discussions for experience sharing on the state of the family planning program in Nigeria. Investment in family planning saves lives, empowers women and girls, strengthens health systems, and has a profound and lasting impact on national development. The administration of President Muhammadu Buhari takes issues of population management as critical components of our national development plan. Hence, our focus is to support scientifically proven family size management strategies and increase contraceptive use and efforts to moderate the present fertility rate. The importance of this conference cannot be overemphasized because it provides the opportunity to foster policy deliberations, exchange ideas, and share experience on family planning and reproductive health strategies. I believe that the representation of government ministries, particularly as we see here, the Ministry of Women Affairs and the Ministry of the Federal Capital Territory, departments, agencies from national and state levels, presence of donors, development partners, the academia, civil society organization, and the private sector at this forum provide a unique opportunity to achieve our objectives. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, an outcome of the 2012 London Summit of Family Planning was the FP 2020 goal to enable 120 million additional women and girls of reproductive age to have access to contraceptives by the year 2020. At this summit, Nigeria committed to achieving a modern contraceptive prevalence rate of 36% by the year 2018. However, this target was revised in 2017 to 27% by year 2020, and again rebased to 27% by the year 2024 to allow more time for ongoing efforts to yield expected results, given the changing realities and emerging challenges, including those imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Unfortunately, implementation of government policies and guidelines to advance utilization of family planning methods at all levels in Nigeria and to reverse the uncontrolled population growth have remained suboptimal. Population growth is fueled by Nigeria's high fertility rate, as many women of reproductive age do not have access to contraception for healthy timing and spacing of pregnancies. The Nigeria Demographic and Health Survey of 2018 estimates total fertility rate of 5.5, which is among the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. Hence, achieving our goal is a critical step to ensuring universal access to reproductive health by 2030, as laid out in the Sustainable Development Goals. It is central to achieving demographic dividends as well as accelerating progress across all development sectors. A strategy employed by government to accelerate progress towards national family planning blueprint target is to develop a tax shifting and tax sharing policy, which aims to set up a rational redistribution of clinical and other responsibilities among healthcare workers according to their skill sets and trainability. The policy ensures specific focus on priority areas such as family planning and reproductive and maternal health, such that provision of long-acting reversible contraceptives, for example, is shared with community health extension workers to address the gaps in human resources and enhance access to an improved methods mix, especially in rural and hard-to-reach underserved communities. It is elating to see interesting developments in the family planning landscape, the introduction and scale-up of medroxyprogesterone acetate subcutaneous injection, which could be self-administered by clients, making it particularly useful in humanitarian settings and emergencies. We recall the recent COVID-19 pandemic experience leading to disruption of essential services, during which clients had difficulty accessing family planning services. DMPA subcutaneous came to the rescue for many of those clients. The Federal Ministry of Health is also in the process of increasing family planning options by introducing a hormonal intrauterine system, HIUS, to potentially increase the MCPR. It is noteworthy that the 6th Nigeria Biennial Family Planning Conference comes with a theme appropriate for the time: the post-FP 2020 agenda and safeguarding investments in emergencies, adaptation, innovation, and resilience. The emergence of COVID-19 caused disruptions to health systems that affected access to services, all services of the health sector, including family planning, due to measures like the lockdown and restriction in movement. But also increased the need for family planning. The lockdown increased the need for family planning. With the focus of government and society on dealing with COVID-19, it is important to pay attention to ensuring essential reproductive health and family planning services are available in order to prevent unplanned pregnancies. Lessons learned from the pandemic should empower us to better prepare for any public health emergency that occurs. There is reason to suspect that the lockdown to contain COVID-19 spread, as I said just now, they have triggered significant increase in unplanned pregnancies. And the recent NSAS protests that saw some medical warehouses vandalized and large quantities of family planning commodities destroyed or stolen only just worsens the outlook. It should be on record that whatever modest accomplishments made in our National Family Planning Program have been with the strong support and collaboration of our numerous stakeholders who committed material, human, and financial resources to the implementation process. I must here commend the United Nations Population Fund, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade Development, the United States Agency for International Development, Foreign, Commonwealth, and Development Office, and other benefactors of Nigeria's family planning program who contribute to the family planning basket funding that supports procurement and distribution of family planning commodities since 2011. I also commend the consistency in the planning and execution of the biennial conference by the Federal Ministry of Health, the Association for the Advancement of Family Planning, and other stakeholders. And I congratulate them all and others who have identified with this cause. I urge you to sustain the tempo to achieve modern contraceptive prevalence rate target of 27% by 2024. I believe it is possible. These events showcase family planning milestones in Nigeria and help strengthening accountability mechanisms and standards. One outstanding output of the collaboration is a storybook, which provides a bird's eye view of family planning in Nigeria and highlights activities and communiques from past National Family Planning Conferences, along with individual testimonies from both the demand and supply sides. This book chronicles funding trends and gaps in childbirth spacing and family planning programming and demonstrates that resources and other forms of support have been put to good use. We hope the story it tells can stimulate responsive action by resource allocators, policymakers, and stakeholders seeking better health outcomes. The production of this book has been facilitated by AAFP on behalf of Nigeria's family planning stakeholders. On behalf of the people and the government of Nigeria, I invite you all to join me for the public presentation as I launch the storybook very soon. I wish you all fruitful deliberation, and I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Health. Can we give him another round of applause, please? And please, members of the high table, let me crave your indulgence to please move over to that side where the Honorable Minister of Health will launch the book. Okay.
I'm holding myself. Thank you. On behalf of the government and the people, on behalf of the people and the government of Nigeria, I hereby unveil this storybook to the glory of God and for the benefit of mankind.
Okay, thank you very much. Can the development partners just take a photograph with the Honorable Minister of Health and Honorable Minister of Women Affairs and the Honorable Minister of FCT? Development partners, please. Okay, the emirs, please. Emirs with the honorable ministers. The emirs, please. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you very much. Can we quickly get back to the TMC? Okay, TMC. Okay, TMC and board members, please, we need to make this snappy. Snappy, please. TMC. Okay, thank you very much. Can we quickly get back to our seats, please? Thank you. Yes. Please, kindly take your seats, please. Kindly take your seats. Hello, kindly take your seats, please. Kindly take your seats, please. Photographers, please kindly take your seats. Take your seats. Thank you so much. Now, the other time I almost got into trouble when I said I needed to be healthy to deal with women. So I'm going to make amends now, and I'm going to plead with Dame Pauline Talen to come to the podium and give her remarks. So the women have the priority. Thank you, ma.
He's a smart MC. Suddenly he has changed his statement. Today is a very, very busy day for me, but I cannot afford not to be here. I want the chairman of the local organizing committee to sincerely thank my dear sister, Moji, who has been on my neck, reminding me every hour and all my staff to be here. Thank you, Moji. My dear brother and partner, a good collaborator, the Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Osagi and Ahere. We're happy to have you here. This is an issue that concerns more of women because we are in the center stage of family planning. And that's why our partnership must continue to grow from strength to strength. The chairman of the occasion, our great champion, the Emir of Shango, His Royal Highness Dr. Hali Ruyaya. I am particularly happy and excited to be here because I was sitting in the midst of two great champions. The chairman of the Board of Trustees, Association for Advanced Family Planning, Alhaji Sani Umar Jaba, is a wonderful champion. Last week, I had a wonderful encounter with him in Sokoto, and we walked for 2 days with him. It was awesome. Please, can you give these two champions a big round of applause? Honorable Minister of Health, these two champions are doing great jobs for us. Not just in the field of health, in the field of education. The chairman, Emir of Chango, is spearheading the girl child education too. And we meet, last week we were together again at another conference. I sincerely appreciate the role you are playing. I want to especially acknowledge all our international donors, my very dear friend Ula of UNFPA, the country rep, for the wonderful support and the good work you are doing. There is hardly any state that you will not find the impact of Melinda Gates Foundation, UNFPA, name it, all of them. You said the World Bank, you are simply wonderful. We appreciate you. And on behalf of all Nigerian women, I appreciate all our donor agencies. I acknowledge all the resource persons, distinguished partners. I want to especially acknowledge my own doctor, the doctor that saw me through when I was having my children, my personal doctor, Dr. Mutuiri, is now a professor. Please stand up for recognition. I had 4 of my children with him. He was the only doctor I trusted. And even when he was moved from Plateau Hospital to Jude, I still followed him there for my last baby. It was simply awesome. You know, doctors and teachers are people you cannot joke with. Teachers, doctors. I am most excited to be at this conference and to congratulate the Family Planning Association for organizing the 2020 conference and to address issues that are very, very pertinent and burning to the lives of women and children. The huge problems that are facing women, health being top on the list, cannot be properly addressed without your input. I appreciate all the members of the high table, particularly, let me acknowledge the representative of the FCT minister, ably represented by the secretary. Nigerian women appreciate all of you, and I want to reassure you of my ministry's full commitment to continue to work with this association. We'll continue to partner together, work together to see how we can save more lives. In all the states I moved around on advocacy, the last one was Sokoto. I visited the hospitals where UNFPA are doing a wonderful job as regards VVF. It's heartbreaking. You see a 9-year-old girl, she's gone through 3-4 surgeries, 10-year, 11-year, 12-year. I'm appealing to men and through our royal fathers who are doing a great job of advocacy. There's no need carrying a baby as a wife and expecting a baby to give birth to a baby. The baby's mothers that we found in our hospitals being abandoned by husbands and families is heartbreaking. We pray that your efforts will not be in vain. I had promised the Honorable Minister that my address will be 1 minute. So he asked me, how many seconds are in my 1 minute? I am sure you appreciate my being here, and we will continue to work together to help and make health issues to be top on our agenda. Mr. President is fully committed, and we appreciate what he's doing to support the Ministry of Health to ensure that the lives of our women and children are safe. Once again, I congratulate you and I thank you for this conference.
A round of applause for Dame Pauline Tallen, the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs.
Let me just take this opportunity, Chairman's privilege, of expressing gratitude to the commitment of these two honorable ministers. Here for health, as usual, but she's had a 16-day non-stop campaign, had so many stops, and I think she'll be saying thank God tonight, but well fulfilled. Once again, we thank them all for this commitment, and with the Honorable Minister of Federal Capital, he's always there, but he's still here with us. We wish you all the very best. You are going to round up 16 days somewhere now. We wish it was here, but don't worry. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Can we just allow the Honorable Ministers of Health and Women Affairs to depart? And we'll quickly continue with the program. Please, the program is not over. We're just allowing the 2 ministers out of 3 to depart. Yes. Okay, thank you for honoring the honorable ministers. We can take our seats now. Kindly take your seats, please. Thank you. We'll move on in this program. We'll invite the Honorable Minister of the FCT, who is ably represented by the Secretary of Health, Dr. Mohammed Kawu. Dr. Kawu, please. A round of applause for him, please.
The chairman of this occasion, His Royal Highness, Dr. Yaya Haliru, the Emir of Shonga, the Honorable Ministers of Health and Women Affairs that just departed, the Chairman Board of Trustees of the AFP, the Country Director of UNFPA, development partners, distinguished partners, the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. You can understand why my minister had to send me to come and read his speech. The 2 ministers that managed to make it, they had to be rushing to go for other assignments. You had the Minister of Women Affairs since 7 o'clock, she has been jumping from one program to the other. And the same thing for the Minister of Health. So I think it's only if you are at that top high level, you understand the situation these people go through, honestly speaking. My minister had planned to come personally, but he had to go for another very, very important meeting. So he has asked me to read his speech. It's a prepared speech. Addressed by the Honorable Minister, Federal Capital Territory, Malam Muhammad Musa Bello, at the opening ceremony of the 6th Nigerian Family Planning Conference, held at the West Carlton Hotel and Apartments at Sokoro, Abuja, today, Thursday, December 10, 2020. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you today for the 6th Nigerian Family Planning Conference taking place in our beautiful national capital. I hereby commend the association for the advancement of family planning, for the determination in ensuring that this event takes place in spite of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and its attendant disruption of socioeconomic activities. Your coalition of government agencies, civil society, and private sector organizations, networks, and development partners has over the last 10 years, through this biennial conference, further advanced the cause of family planning and reproductive health in this country. The theme for this year's conference was Family Planning 2020 Agenda and Safeguarding Investments in Emergencies, Adaptation, Innovation, Resilience, and its 7 sub-themes are quite timely and in tune with our current realities. The PF 2020 as a global partnership to empower women and girls by investing in rights-based family planning has done quite well by bringing to the fore all the salient issues regarding family planning, reproductive and maternal health. These issues, it has been proven, are essential for the socioeconomic and even political development of any nation. Distinguished conference delegates, ladies and gentlemen, since its assumption of office, the administration of the President Muhammadu Buhari has worked assiduously towards improving reproductive health care delivery in the country through the implementation of well-articulated policies and strategic plans. These policies include, but are not limited to, the National Reproductive Health Policy and strategic plans and the National Guidelines on Contraceptive Logistics Management System. These policies and plans are all part of government's concerted efforts aimed at addressing the various problems mitigating against reproductive and maternal health in Nigeria. The FCT has keyed into government agenda and is committed to achieving the national goal of contraceptive prevalence rate. Our modern family planning prevalence stands at 20%. Attendance at international stands at 88%, while stillbirth attendance stands at 63%. I am proud to announce that all these figures surpassed both the zonal and the national averages. Indeed, all these are indicators of our unwavering and sustained efforts at reducing maternal and child mortalities and morbidities in the FCT. It will please you to note that the FCT currently has over 30 master trainers on modern family planning. This is a very great departure from where we were 2 years ago. This is in addition to the over 2,000 health personnel who have been trained on modern family planning techniques in the last 1 year, all in our bid to expand access to family planning services in the FCT. We will continue to sustain our effort in addressing all issues of reproductive and maternal health here in the FCT. And our doors remain open to this association, and indeed, all organizations willing to partner with us to achieve our objectives in this direction. I wish you happy deliberations and a fruitful conference. Thank you for your valued attention, and may God bless you.
Another round of applause for the Honorable Minister of the FCT, ably represented by Dr. Kawu. So, like my colleague had said, you can see this microphone has behaved itself. Despite the alcohol that we have placed and sprayed, it has behaved itself. So I will now hand over back the alcohol-soaked microphone to the originator of the alcohol-soaked microphone.
But you didn't soak it, doctor. Doctor, you didn't soak it before giving me. Let me have your program, sir. Thank you very much. So far, so good. We are doing well. And if you ask me, when I used to be the leader of a spiritual association, I would have some of you clap for yourselves. But the people I'm seeing here, I don't want to say it before they cut my allowance for the day. But so far, so good. We'll just speed through to a recap. As you may be aware, we have this program started on Monday, though we are doing the official opening today, and a lot of things have happened. We've had sessions on women, we've had on youth, we've had on interfaith. And we think it would be a good thing for those of us, especially who are not around in the last 2 days, 3 days, to actually understand what the themes are, what are the issues. In no particular order, let me start, because also we are sensitive to our young people. You know, those of us who are young are taking over. Prof, you're laughing. Prof, I'm young now. Prof, just pretend like, no, this is Photoshop, sir. Okay, some of us were born in the 90s, so young shall grow, yes, sir. Okay, so young people, are we ready? Young people smile now. Is that a smile? Correct. Okay, so let's put our hands together as I invite to the microphone for a recap of the pre-conference session for youth. I have Rahama Bungudu, and she will introduce the gentleman with her. To the microphone, please. I thought we will do better for our young people. These are young people.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please allow us to what's the word? Please allow us to, sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Please allow us to stand on existing protocols, sorry. All right, so my name is Rahama Bungudu, and I'm the Youth Engagement and Advocacy Officer for Mary Stopes International Organization, Nigeria. And with me is Elvis Okoli, and together we're going to be giving you a brief recap of what happened at the Youth FP conference, which took place the day before yesterday. Sorry, can we start from the first slide? Next slide, please. So this year, the theme for our Youth FP conference was prioritizing young people's family planning needs during crisis and emergencies. And our sub-themes were inclusive family planning programming for adolescents, for adolescents and young people. The second sub-theme was called the COVID pandemic and the family planning story. I'll now hand you over to Elvis, who's going to take you through a few of our presentations, and then I'll wrap us up. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, the next one. Talk about this. Okay. All right. So during the 6th Nigeria Family Planning Youth Pre-Conference, we looked at a broad goal and key objectives that we wanted to achieve at the end of the day. So our broad goal was to mobilize young people to plan strategies that will expand adolescent and youth-friendly family planning services. Some of the key objectives were to raise awareness on the family planning needs of adolescents and young people. The second was to ensure that the needs of young people are prioritized in family planning program and policy initiatives.
The third was to work towards the maintenance of the agenda for young people at both the national and subnational levels. The fourth was to highlight the gains of family planning amongst adolescents and young people pre and post-COVID pandemic. Next slide. To achieve the objectives of the Youth Pre-Conference, we looked at topical issues, and the first of them is how well have we implemented family planning policies and laws? And the context for this topic was that from 1995 to 2020, we've done notably well around policy formulation. For instance, from the National Population Policy to the Family Planning Blueprint, the Adolescent Health and Development Policies for 2020 to 2024. However, it's important to note that we've had missed outcomes upon the evaluation of these policies. Specifically, in the areas of comprehensive sexuality education, we've not made significant progress to ensure that young people have access to appropriate comprehensive sexuality education. So what were some of the issues that came out from the policy environment analysis? We are looking at inconsistencies where policies do not align, either at the national level down to the state and local levels. We also looked at poor monitoring and evaluation frameworks for this policy after they've been formulated and they are the implementation stages. Then if we are also planning policies for young people, we are looking at policies that reflect the needs and expectations of these people, which has been poorly prioritized. Now, a few recommendations were made. For the policy environment for young people, especially in family planning. We need to strengthen mechanisms for coordination and implementation. We need to start looking at domestication of these policies, where at the state level they are owned by the state, and also pushed down, cascaded to the local levels for implementation and subsequent ownership. We need to also look at using a human-centered design that reflects the need of young people, both in emergency and in crisis situations. Next slide. So we also looked at the availability of family planning info and services, especially for young people in crisis and emergency. And a bit of the background is that we've had 1.7 million women and girls being displaced by insecurity across the nation. Now, in addition to this insecurity, we have a double tragedy of COVID in the midst of the insecurity. So this has led to an increase in gender-based violence and equally leading to opportunities where young people might not have access to family planning services. So some of the broad spectrum of issues that could affect young people in crisis and emergency situations were sociocultural, where we look at norms, where young people can access services, economic poverty and lack of access to basic resources. And we also looked at structural, where we lack legal frameworks to protect the needs of young people for family planning. And an intervention was evaluated. It was called the one-stop approach, which is being used in Borno State, a comprehensive service delivery approach that provides both counseling and family planning services for young people. We want such services to be expanded. We want all methods for young people to be sustained, the availability of all methods. And we want to strengthen awareness of family planning for young people in crisis and emergency situations. Next slide. I want to rush this. So we looked at the level of involvement of young people in family planning, information, and service delivery, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. One of the first things we pointed out was that there has been a disruption of service delivery at all levels, especially for young people who were already facing barriers prior to the pandemic. And we need to also understand that the young people population, they are not homogeneous. They are a very diverse population. We need to think about people that are disabled and people that are from the ethnic minorities. So one of the things we talked about for the recommendations is to see that we ensure that there's targeted and incremental funding for all programs for young people. And we see that we are deliberate about inclusion of young people at all program planning and policy initiatives. I guess I would hand over to Rama to take over.
Thank you, Elvis. So the next thing that we looked at was Nigeria's family planning goal in 2020, what we're going to do as we look ahead. And the reality of the situation is that when it comes to meeting our CPR, the target that we have set for looking ahead, we're actually not going to meet it. That's just the truth. However, there are strategic recommendations that we can come up with in order to grow the MCPR. A lot of these involve providing access to modern contraceptives for young people. If you look at the slides, you'll see that there are points that speak to how young people, both married and unmarried, use modern contraceptives and how they have increased over the years. Increasing this access to modern contraceptives will only improve the figures further. Next slide. The next thing that we looked at was long-acting methods have become more available. So we've seen a shift from adolescents and young people using short-term methods to long-term methods as they have become more available to them. In order to improve these figures, we need better data that are based on recent surveys, private sector services that are provided to young people, and FP service visits and or contraceptive commodity distribution specifically for young people. There's still an insufficient understanding of the link between the design, funding, and implementation of some of these policies that Elvis previously discussed. And in order to understand better how these policies will benefit us and how we can take advantage of them the best, there's a need to understand the links better. Next slide, please. So these aren't on our slide, but there was an interesting presentation by Margaret Bolaji of Stand With the Girl Initiative, who spoke about girl-child education and SRH. And what we learned was that educated girls are likely to stay in school, have healthy timings and spacing of their children, and also transfer these skills to their own children. The life skills that they get through girl-child education will actually give them the negotiation and communication skills that they need to discuss with their spouses how many and when to have these children. This program was actually, due to the COVID pandemic, this program was actually taken to the radio, and they were able to reach indirectly and directly reach 3 million young girls and women. I'll hand you over to Elvis, who's going to wrap up.
Okay, I feel everyone has read this, but it's quite important that we reiterate this for everyone to know. Young people are not future leaders. We have started leadership already. And as the greatest segment of the demographic pyramid, we hold the significant stake in any progress Nigeria will make. So a bit of take home is that we should, in our small spaces, ensure that we include young people in any plans and policy initiative we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think they deserve another round of applause. I would have taken the microphone from them, but when I remember someone like Dr. Deku and Professor Ladakwa, who would say, give young people a chance, I decided to give them a chance because when I was a young person in 1945, that was how I also used to talk. So a round of applause for them, please. I welcome to the microphone the women's representative for this, the recap of the pre-conference sessions for women, Dr. Mrs. Mitchell Abazu. A round of applause for her, please. So, Ma, you want to take one of these? Dr. Abazu, not because we gave young people, we now say my mother is a woman, you don't want to bribe me too. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have 3 minutes, so I'm just going to stand on all existing protocols. I'm here to deliver the communique for the Pre-Women's Conference. The 6th National Family Planning Conference has its theme, Post-FP 2020 Agenda and Safeguarding Investments in Emergencies, Adaptation, Innovation, Resilience, a theme that is apt in these times. The keynote speaker was Dr. Hawa Shekarau, who is the president and founder of Women Law and Development Initiative and the current president of the Nigerian Bar Association Abuja chapter. In her keynote address, she highlighted the effects of the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic in recent times that took everyone unawares and completely stretching the resilience of global health systems, including those of developed countries. This pandemic also increased the domestic and sexual violence cases recorded against women around the world as a result of the lockdown. The COVID-19 pandemic came with its attendant consequences, one of which is the disruption of access to family planning information and services, as well as sexual and reproductive health more broadly. Violence against women and girls was widespread in Nigeria before COVID-19, and then there was a significant increase during the pandemic. Before COVID-19, sexual and gender-based violence was generally was reported to occur at least 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 10 boys. The advent of COVID-19 pandemic, no doubt, has led to an increase in the reports of these gender-based violence cases in all 6 geopolitical zones. The upsurge of sexual violence against women during COVID-19 pandemic calls for the great concern and ensuring that family planning needs are met. For women, family planning is a critical basic health care. As health systems shift to prevention and treatment of people with COVID-19, it is essential that they also protect and ensure that women have access to family planning services. As experienced so far, the focus of many health systems on the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the provision of basic contraception counseling, the delivery of contraceptive products and services, and the functioning of supply chains have been disrupted, and women and men are at a disadvantage in seeking care from their regular providers. COVID-19 is impacting women's ability to use contraception in a number of ways. I'll just list through. Disruptions to the supply chain are limiting the production, distribution, and availability of contraceptive commodities, resulting in stockouts. Healthcare providers are redirected from providing family planning services towards responding to COVID-19. Many women are unable to visit healthcare facilities due to lockdowns or fear of exposure to COVID-19. There is no doubt that when women and couples' needs for family planning are not met, the number of unintended pregnancies is certain to rise, with lifelong impacts on women and their families. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on meeting the demand for family planning will be influenced by many factors, one of them being the types of contraceptive methods used by women in each country. Individual contraceptive methods differ in terms of the need for contact with healthcare providers, the period of renewal, the susceptibility to stockouts and global supply chain disruptions, and their effectiveness in preventing unintended pregnancies. These issues therefore make it all the more important to prioritize the provision of contraception, not only in the midst of COVID-19, but at all times. 6 key action points for policymakers, political leaders, and health system providers that could help ensure that family planning needs of women are met during the COVID-19 pandemic were presented. Number 1, limitations on mobility speaks to an urgent need to expand postpartum family planning services, particularly long-acting reversible contraceptives, such as contraceptive implants, postpartum IUDs, or injectables. Number 2, self-care family planning methods should be promoted and supplied to women and men proactively. 3, barriers to accessing contraception need to be lifted. 4, implement telemedicine using mobile phones and social media as an adjunct to improving information and access to contraception. 5, we need to anticipate and address likely supply chain needs and challenges. 6, healthcare workers must be provided adequate PPEs. In preferring solutions to the challenges faced as indicated above, Dr. Kingsley Odogu from Mary Stopes presented on innovative approaches to increase family service planning services during the COVID-19 lockdown. These responses to these issues are set up an internal COVID-19 response team with real-time responses based on updates from teams across the countries, secure approvals from national and state ministries of health that enabled our teams move and work as essential health workers, even in most difficult locations and across the states. 3, develop COVID-19 guidelines for service delivery to each of our channel of operation. This ensured standard of practice and care across board. 4, deployed personal protective equipment for all team members and service providers, including the use of handheld thermometers, sanitizers, face masks, to ensure safety of clients and staff. 5, increased supply of commodities and consumables. 6, mainstream COVID-19 prevention messages into family health talk across all channels and locations. Our staff provide health talk on COVID-19 before every engagement, mobilization, and service delivery. Finally, develop COVID-19 demand creation guidelines that sustained mobilization of clients for family planning and sexual and reproductive health, greater use of community structures and gatekeepers, daily tracking of productivity of each team. This ensured Mary Stopes International constantly maintained good value of operational investment made during the COVID-19 period. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. You know, it feels so good to also intimidate a medical doctor. Every time you go to the hospital, they are intimidating you. So standing by Dr. Abagu, it was good to see her also look at me and beg me, like patient to beg doctor. Okay, we are moving on and we're doing very well with time. Let's make welcome to the microphone the recap from the interfaith. And I have the pleasure to invite Reverend Isaac Badero and Imam M. Taminu to the microphone. Please encourage them as they come to the microphone. Reverend Isaac Badero and Imam M. Taminu. How are you going to share it? Okay, fantastic.
Imam Tanimu, come close. Imam Tanimu, come close. All protocols observed. I greet every participant. The communique issued at the end of the one-day virtual interfaith pre-conference of the 6th Nigerian Family Planning Conference 2020 held at Wells Hilton Hotel, Blue Ribbon Hall, Abuja. The theme was impactful strategies to strengthen the family planning agenda post-2020, scaling up faith-based network. The one-day virtual interfaith pre-conference had in attendance faith leaders across Nigeria, government and state stakeholders and development implementing partners, media and other diverse promoters of the family planning and childbirth spacing in Nigeria. Because of my time, I just want to move straight to the communique. At the end of the pre-conference, participants issued the following proper action, and it is hoped that it will go a long way in promoting the interfaith role in the national planning program. 1, religious leaders should continue to champion homegrown approaches in addressing myths and misconceptions and promoting positive social behavioral changes that will improve the lives of women, children, adolescents, and young people in our communities. It is likewise agreed that government at all levels, that is federal, state, and local government areas, should increase and sustain funding for childbirth spacing. And those states without specific budget line funding should ensure that budget lines and funds are created and released as at when due. It's agreed likewise that media should subsidize the airing and publication of CBS informations and messages in both public and private outfits. Government and donor agents should rigorously increase capacity strengthening of religious leaders in current and emergent issues that relates to childbirth spacing. It is agreed likewise that government should ensure adequate security and safe environment, that is COVID-19, for efficient and sustainable CBS services delivery at all levels. We have agreed and so agreed that we have to move a step ahead, moving from just childbirth spacing to include all aspects of mother and child health related health issues. Participants and stakeholders at the Interfaith Pre-Conference duly appreciate the government, development and implementing partners, the media and other promoters of family planning childbirth spacing for their role in the FP response towards achieving the FP 2020. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much. For the next session, which is a keynote address by Dr. Muhammad Ali Pate, I want to invite to the high table. And at this point, I think I need to expand the high table. They will moderate this session. Okay, thank you very much. Distinguished lady and gentlemen, His Royal Highnesses on the high table have graciously, indeed corrected us to kindly allow them step out so that the next session can happen. Thank you very much for that. So please, let's put our hands together as they take their leave. Thank you for helping us with this session. You made it really, really. Okay, let's make welcome to the high table Professor Ladipo to join as we go to the session of the keynote address by Dr. Muhammad Ali Pati. So we're going to play a video, and after that, we'll discuss the issues. You're welcome, sir. A round of applause for Prof. So, Prof, you can. The technical team, are we ready? Okay, while you prepare the technical, let's have pause the video. Let's hear Prof briefly before we start the video, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me appreciate all of you for being so patient, despite the fact that we've had so many information without any break whatsoever. But I know it's the passion you have for the subject that is keeping you here, and we do appreciate your presence and your contribution. This afternoon, before we close this important opening ceremony, we have a distinguished Nigerian to give a keynote address. I don't have the topic, but I have a sense of what he might be talking about. The speaker is someone that is well known to you, a former Minister of State for Health, who had worked tirelessly in partnership with Professor Chukwu. And you will remember that it was during that period that Nigeria formalized free primary free contraceptive methods in the public health arena. He was partly instrumental to it. To his cap also, one needs to recognize that he introduced the 1 million life under one roof, and also the and then also the maternity services, I think funded by the Canadian group at that time. There were quite a lot of things he did, but the one most important and relevant to this meeting is that he led the team to London, FP 2020. You know, that's very important. And at that time, he was able to pledge additional $8.3 million to complement the $4 million that Nigerian government was providing annually, which was something that has not been done ever since. Currently, I mean, he's working with the World Bank. He's back to World Bank. He was with World Bank because we mobilized him home. And I'm hoping that in the not too distant future, we shall mobilize him back again to serve at a higher level. He's currently the Global Director, HNP, World Bank Group, and Director, GFF, Women, Children, and Adolescents. So you can see he has passion for maternal, child health, adolescent health. And he has been championing the need to reduce the fertility so that we can get to demographic window and take advantage of that as well. But of course, we can only benefit from demographic window if we have good governance, Currently, we're lucky there's commitment for population management and family planning at the highest level. So this is a good opportunity to advance the cause of women's health. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you now and to have Dr. Ali Pati to speak to us virtual. I understand he's in Washington, D.C., but he's a well-traveled man. You know, never can know where he'll be at any given time, but today he's in Washington, D.C. Dr. Pati, is he connected? We can't hear. Can you mute your microphone, please? We have a technical problem at the moment, but we'll soon be connected. We can hear him. Dr. Pate, if you can hear me, just be patient with us. We're trying to solve
the Association for the Advancement of Family Planning in Nigeria for this invitation. So, good afternoon. All protocols duly observed. Let me start by appreciating the organizers of this important conference, the Association for the Advancement of Family Planning in Nigeria, for this invitation. There is a strong link between the structure of Nigeria's population and its national development. The structure of Nigeria's population is such that working age to non-working age population ratios have remained stable over the last 50 to 60 years, driven by relatively high annual population growth rates. And favorable ratios of working age to non-working age population enhances human capital investment as well as household savings potential. For Nigeria to reap its potential demographic dividend, there is need for purposeful government and multi-stakeholder effort to meet the currently unmet need for family planning commodities, to enhance education for both girls and boys, and to empower women and girls. The average total fertility rate for uneducated women in Nigeria is more than twice that of women who have had above secondary education. Thus, girl-child education remains an important area also to focus to improve reproductive health and reduce maternal and child mortality. Girl-child education focusing on the completion of quality primary, secondary, and post-secondary education for the future of Nigeria's mothers is very critical. But girls alone and women alone do not make babies. There is equally high need to improve the overall quality of education for all children, even if these efforts will take time, and perhaps even more time because the already large birth cohorts that are constantly coming into the educational system. So access to reproductive health services and commodities remain the first and most important urgent priority in this context. Access to reproductive health services and maternal and newborn health care is critical for women's health as well as the social and economic well-being. Yet, there are well-established challenges to addressing the significant gaps and inequities that exist in the access, utilization, and distribution of health outcomes in Nigeria. In the case of family planning in Nigeria, women in the richest wealth quintile are several folds more likely to have access to family planning services, regardless of geography, ethnicity, or religion. And let me outline some of those challenges. One is the lack of essential contraceptive services. Of the 45 million women of reproductive health, or reproductive age in Nigeria, that is 15 to 49 years of age, 15.7 million of them want to avoid a pregnancy. That is, they can become pregnant, are sexually active, and do not want a child for at least the next 2 years. Some 6.2 million women, 14% of all women of reproductive age, use modern contraceptives. The largest share of modern method users relies on male condoms, followed by injectables and oral contraceptive pills. Now, women wanting to avoid a pregnancy who are not using modern method are considered to have an unmet need for modern contraception. Of the 9.5 million women with unmet need in Nigeria, 7 million use no contraceptive method at all, and 2.5 million use traditional methods, which typically have low levels of effectiveness. Among women wanting to avoid a pregnancy, the proportion with an unmet need for modern contraception is much higher among women living in households in the poorest wealth quintiles than among women living in households in the richest wealth quintiles. 92% versus 45%, more than two-fold difference. The second category of challenges is the lack of essential maternal newborn health services. Of the estimated 10.3 million pregnancies in Nigeria, 24% were unintended. That is, they were unwanted or not wanted in the next 2 years. Women with an unmet need for modern contraception accounted for 90% of all unintended pregnancies. More than half of unintended pregnancies in Nigeria end in abortion. And many of the 7.4 million women who give birth each year do not receive the essential components of maternal and newborn care recommended by the World Health Organization and the Nigerian Ministry of Health. For example, 50% do not receive a minimum of 4 antenatal care visits, and 63% do not give birth in health care facility. Most women living in households in the poorest wealth quintile did not receive a minimum of 4 antenatal care visits. That is 84% of them, and did not deliver at a health facility, 94% of them. In contrast, 12% of women living in households in the richest wealth quintile did not receive the 4 antenatal care visits, and 19% did not deliver at a health care facility. This shows you the magnitude of the inequities that exist in access and utilization across the income quintiles in Nigeria. Each year, 61,000 women die from complications of childbirth, abortion, or miscarriage, and more than 250,000 newborns die in the first month of life. Most of these deaths could be prevented with adequate medical care, but they also occur among the poorest segments of our society. Of the 2 million women and 2.8 million newborns in Nigeria who require care for medical complications related to pregnancy and delivery, only 17% receive the care that they need. And let's take abortion, for example, which is only legal in Nigeria if performed to save a woman's life. Of the 1.3 million abortions in 2018, 85% of them were estimated to occur under unsafe conditions. This exemplifies the challenge that we have in terms of safe reproductive health services for all women in our country. Now, there are significant health benefits of meeting women's needs for services. If all unmet need for modern contraception in Nigeria were satisfied, unintended pregnancies will drop by 77%, from 2.5 million to roughly about 500,000 per year. As a result, the annual number of unplanned births will decrease from 885,000 to 200,000, and the number of abortions will drop from 1.3 million to 280,000 per year. And if full provision of modern contraception were combined with adequate care for all pregnant women and their newborns, maternal deaths will drop by 68%, from 61,000 to 19,000 per year, and newborn deaths will drop by 85%, from 250,000 to 38,000 per year. There was an estimate that was made in 2018 of the annual cost of providing contraceptive services to 6.2 million women of reproductive age in Nigeria who were currently receiving modern methods. That estimate was it costed 67 million per year. This includes direct service costs for drugs, supplies, and personnel, as well as the estimated indirect program and system cost. Meeting the need for modern contraception among all women in Nigeria who want to prevent a pregnancy will require significant additional investment to provide the improved coverage for new users and also improve the quality of care for the current users. These significant investments will have to come from both the public as well as the private segments of society. In terms of the current COVID-19 pandemic that is already disrupting a lot of essential health services, the pandemic has unleashed a secondary crisis through disruption of maternal and child health care services and reproductive health services. These disruptions are likely to increase child mortality in the years to come and maternal mortality as well, and to reduce access to family planning services, resulting in unwanted pregnancies unless we take really concerted actions in the period ahead. So going forward, for Nigeria to change the structure of its population towards less dependency and accelerate its demographic transition, it will require continued strong and focused leadership by actors at all levels, at the national, at the federal level, but also at the subnational levels. Nigeria should also invest in meeting the need for modern contraceptive services and maternal and newborn health care to improve health outcomes. Investing in both sets of services is more cost-effective than focusing on maternal and newborn health care alone. In addition, it has enormous benefits for women, families, and society, and it will likely contribute to Nigeria's progress towards achieving goals set at the national, regional, and global levels. Increased access to sexual and reproductive health information, supplies, and services, particularly for young women, for young men and women, unmarried women, and those living in poorer households will be very crucial. We need to invest in public-private partnerships in which privately run facilities are supported by the government to provide high-quality, comprehensive sexual and reproductive health services. And drugstores are supported to provide some of the modern contraceptive methods at more affordable cost. We need to implement health worker training and health system upgrades, focus on the provision of high quality and respectful services across the spectrum of sexual, reproductive, and maternal health care for all women. We need to invest in girls' and women's education and empower their participation in the labor market, particularly girls and women from the poorest households and communities in our country. So with those interventions, with the strong leadership at the federal and subnational levels, we would accelerate the transition of Nigeria's population structure towards lesser dependency, improve investments in human capital, such as nutrition, basic education, and draw on the capabilities of our women in the labor market and accelerate our economic development. Thank you very much for asking me to share with you some of these thoughts at this conference, and I wish you a very successful conference.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ali Pate. We truly appreciate you. There'll be no questions asked. This is a keynote address, but I'm sure you have taken the points. Like I said during my introduction, he's one of us. He's an FP champion, and he has actually touched most of the important issues that we've been discussing. There's no doubt that there's a strong link between population and age structure, as he highlighted. And he indicated that there should be purposeful efforts to do one or two things, in particular, education. As we keep saying, education, 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 in particular for the girl child who will perform the reproductive function, and hence education should be free for the girl child, even to secondary school level. But it's not just education. I'm glad he mentioned the word, quality. It has to be qualitative education rather than quantitative education. Just like it should be qualitative reproduction and not quantitative reproduction. You understand? That quality is very important because that is the only way you can empower the girl to be gainfully employed and to participate in the workforce. It has to be good quality education. You can see most of our graduates now are not employed. But the truth is that most of them are not even employed in the public or the private sector because the quality of education has declined. You and I understand it. Let's tell each other the truth. We need to go back to the good days when we had quality education in our tertiary institution, in our secondary institution, in our primary institution. I think I love that. Then he did talk about the challenge, I mean, the women of reproductive age, he said about 45 million or so, I use the figure 50 million. And in terms of sourcing for additional funds, I've always advocated that the government of Nigeria should contribute at least $1 per woman of reproductive age, which will mean $50 million towards commodity procurement instead of the 3 million that we have now. We have to own the program. The nation has to own the program. You have to own the blueprint. You have to implement it. You cannot implement it by relying on donor money all the time. So I buy the idea that we need to mobilize funds through some other innovative ways. Even if, okay, let's take, for example, government decides today to formulate a policy. Anybody traveling outside the country, international trip, must contribute $10 on their ticket. You understand what I mean? People will contribute it. It's just like the recent increase in the airfare. It's 100% increase, and people are paying for it. You understand? Where there is necessity, people will pay the money. In this case, say every international flight, and every international flight is at least 90% occupancy. 100% occupancy in business and first class, remember? So we can say those in that category, $50 each to be added to their tickets. You get your money. Or even the GSM, there are about 110 million people access to GSM. For every call, one naira fee. To go to a basket fund managed by people from government and people from the public sector to ensure transparency and appropriate use. And just a suggestion, you understand what I mean? Because the money is there. We want to thank Dr. Pate immensely. There's no doubt that, he made reference to reduction of maternal mortality, reduction of unwanted, unplanned pregnancy, reduction in induced illegal abortions, etc., etc. If every woman has access to good quality family planning services. We want to appreciate him very much and hope that in his current position, he will allow more grants to come to Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, there'll be no questions. So I want to appreciate everyone for being present here. In particular, UNFPA country-led, we've never met, but I've heard your name, so I'm delighted to have this opportunity. And the chair of this conference itself, the Emma Oshonga, would truly appreciate to my brother, chair of AFP Board of Trustee. We appreciate your contribution immensely. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. I think I can end there.
Thank you very much, Professor Oladapo Ladipo, for that very, very instructive and very interesting contributions. Without taking much time, I will invite to the microphone while we prepare. Before that, let me just give this quick information. After the vote of thanks, we'll go for lunch for 1 hour. And after that, we'll come back here to do the oral session. So the vote of thanks is not the end of the program. It's just the end of the opening ceremony. Having said that, please let's welcome to the microphone the BOT chairman of AAFP to give us the vote of thanks, after which we'll go for lunch. Please, let's put our hands together for Alhaji Sani Omar Jabbar as he comes to the microphone. That's the BOT chairman. Jabbar.
The Honorable Minister of Health, Minister of Women Affairs, Minister of Federal Capital, heavily and adequately being represented, our father, the chairman of the occasion, who is no any other person than our father, His Royal Highness Emir of Shonga, our mother, the Dono, whose her funding touched the life of the grassroots people, no any other person than country rep of UNFPA, Dr. Mola. Our father, the father of RH in Nigeria, Dr. Dapo Oladipo. Health Minister of Health. Our most respected development partners, civil society, aid-based organizations, the population that we stand to assist, to support, that is people, we are supporting women. So I say women, the adolescent girls and boys, members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I say assalamu alaikum to you all. it gives me great pleasure and honor to stand before you these hours to appreciate the giant effort the Ministry of Health and the able leadership of and the permanent secretaries in the ministry, which without him, we can't have enabling environment for this and also for budget line for sustained issue of family planning. I think on the side of the partners, I commend the giant effort and appreciate the transparent leadership of the Tamula country representative of UNFPA, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Nurihi, leadership of Dr. Moji Adeku, who have been doing, without her, this gathering is just like a pub without sugar. Yeah. Having done that again, Dr. Ejike, the chairman, LOC, I must commend in making this happen. I mean, whom without them, this platform conducting urban national family planning conference. And I believe we achieved a lot of milestones from where sometimes even at this national forum 2010, I believe we have a limitation in the issue of delivering messages of family planning. But today, I believe even at the mosque, at the churches, at various fora, we are free to say family planning. We have a lot of empirical evidence that shows that family planning saves lives. And even beyond saving lives, this population of this country, if we need to line, because issue of insecurity, issue of employment, issue of global warming and climate change are grossly affecting some part of the country. And I believe we need to harness this. And now, I commend all the partners, all the participants coming here despite. I commend you, pray God, to save your journey respective destination. On behalf of AF, the Board of Trustees, the technical management team, and on behalf of also my father, the Emir of Shonga, and also another father, to Oladipo, and I commend all of you and appreciate your participation. And I wish you journey mercy back to respective destination. Thank you.
Thank you very much.